Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Bobby Donohue. He's the founder of Planet Bonehead, an innovative educational platform that revolutionizes the way climate change is taught in schools. Welcome to the show, Bobby.
Thank you, AJ. Thanks. Appreciate it.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online form, Bobby. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll learn about transforming climate learning for the next generation from you. So before we come to that, let's learn a bit about you, your background, your journey, so that people know who they are listening to.
Sure. So my name is Bobby, and I have a background in graphic design and engineering. So I've kind of made a career combining the two of those. And I found out that something that I love to do is just create content, create programs that are both educational and inspirational. So that has become sort of the crux of everything that I do. And so the Planet Bonehead program really fits that bill. It's something that's near and dear to my heart. The engineering part is like I'm learning about green tech and trying to bring the advancements that I see happening in green technology to classrooms so that kids can learn about it, learn about these careers, and just really my main focus is to help them see their future with optimism and empowerment. That's a good introduction as any, I think.
Of course, of course. In fact, it's nice to see, from graphic designing, from content creation to the real stuff for the next generation. And that is where I want to understand from you, Bobby, is to you talk about this whole making the new generation learn more about, about empowerment as well as career in the future, especially in green tech and STEAM. So, what is the present state of how is it, climate education being taught in schools today, especially for people who are outside the US or that part of the world? We do not know how you teach them. We assume that they must be teaching all about the great things, that the kids should know about how our, our only planet, lonely planet, is in trouble. So help us
Yeah.
understand about the present state of affairs, how it's taught, and then we'll look at how you want it to be in future.
Yeah, the present state of climate education, as I understand it, is pretty minimal. There's not much. You know, I mean, I can throw statistics at you. Something like 86% of teachers want to be teaching climate change in the classroom, but only about 30 to 40% of them feel that they have the knowledge, the resources, or the support to do it. And those are the three things that schools and teachers are lacking. It's the knowledge, the resources, and support. So knowledge meaning that teachers themselves don't really understand climate change. They're not climate scientists or experts. There's so much misinformation and disinformation in the world about it. But one side saying it's a hoax, and another side saying the world's going to end tomorrow. It's like it's very confusing. And then it's like, how do you approach a topic like that with kids without scaring the pants off of them? It's so some people just want to stay away from it, and then they don't have the resources. They don't have the classroom tools, the videos, the lesson plans, the activities, anything that's climate specific. There's just not much out there for them to use. And then finally is the support. A lot of teachers feel isolated on this topic. Maybe their community or their district doesn't really support it that much, and or parents complain about if it's too woke or something like that. So there's a lot that goes into it, but there is a tremendous desire for it, and it's they're just lacking in those three things, and those are the three things that I'm trying to bring to the table for them with Planet Bonehead.
Right, right, Bobby. So you talked about, knowledge. You talked about resources. You talked about support.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of policy is already there. They go to these whole big organizations, build big forums, and there they set the policies, not just about the US, but even for the whole world. So I want to understand, then if there is a policy that is being set up, why can't schools follow the official government policy itself? It talks about, obviously, about taking care of the planet, rather than getting into the politics of things, rather than getting into this whole battle about fossil fuels and renewable and all those things. They just talk about the present state and just follow the government uh, policies. Sell what is it that the government is trying to achieve there. At least it looks good on paper. Whether it happens on the ground, but at least that can be taught in terms. And why is it not happening? Is it because, again, politics is coming into schools? Is it the corporate which is meddling into the affairs of the school, or is it something else?
Well, I'm in the United States. So in the United States, there is no government school program. There's no federal school program. There can be mandates about like this or that thing. Like the government will fund schools or withhold funding based on certain criteria. But schools in the United States, generally speaking, are controlled on the local level. So I live in a town, and that town has its own school district, and that district has its own board of education or board of directors, whatever, and they're the ones who decide what goes on in that school district. And now within each school district together, they all combine to form the entire state. In the United States, we have 50 states. So each state will have its own mandated things too. But again, most stuff is controlled at the micro level of the district. So you might have one district where the teachers and the community themselves are very much for teaching this stuff. And then you might have another district where they're just like, I don't want my kids learning about that. I don't want that. So, I don't know about everywhere in the world, but here in the United States, we have this very interesting, and I use the word interesting because otherwise I'm going to start getting angry, uh, argument about whether or not climate change is even a real thing or not. We have on the right, we have people saying it's a hoax, and on the left, we're like like every scientist on Earth is saying that it's not, and we need to do something about it. Um, but the conversation is always about the doom and gloom. The conversation is always about how everything is going to be a catastrophe by next Thursday if we don't fix this immediately. And I just feel like that's not the way to approach it with kids. We can't scare them into action. We need to empower them into action. The most that I can do personally is create the tools and the resources and put it out there for them to use, and then each district can decide whether or not it's something that they want on their own. That's I can't force it. I'm not the king of the United States. That might be good. I don't know. but I'm not. So but only if I am. Nobody else. I don't trust anybody
I'll
else.
support you. I'll support you. At least I'll have the king of the US on this platform. It will bring some, name and revenues to it.
There you go. It would increase your viewership. So,
Yes. Yes.
so I don't know what the answer is to your question precisely. It's such a large system, and it's very complex with a lot of people and a lot of opinions. So I like to believe that at the end of the day, all of us, to most degrees, want to see our children thrive, want to see our children educated well, and want to see a bright future for them on a healthy planet. I think that we all can agree to that, more or less. Like 99.9% of people will say that sounds great. We just can't figure out how to do it without killing each other. So here, I'm just doing it my way, and whoever likes my way can do it with me. And if you don't like my way, then don't do it. You don't have to. That's all I can say about that.
Absolutely. And what is your way? Means, what, help us understand so that people are more educated on the way you are. At least you have a good intention. that people must be aware of whether whatever the crisis is, at least in the right perspective, rather than getting confused about so many versions of the same thing.
Sure. So, what is my way? That's the question.
Yes.
Great. So, the Planet Bonehead really started with the resources, bringing the resources into the classroom so that teachers had lessons. So, I make videos that teach kids about specific topics. So, for example, one of the units that I made is about recycling, right? So, on the recycling unit, we talk about the problem. The problem is that we have too much garbage, but there's also a problem with recycling. It doesn't really fix the problem all that well. It's like we need a better solution than just recycling because people don't like recycling. It's annoying. They put the wrong thing in the wrong cans and stuff gets mixed up and it gets dirty and it's useless. So it's like it's a wonderful intention, recycling, but it's not the best solution. So that's the problem. Now let's talk about a solution. Green technology is has come up with ways to use artificial intelligence in recycling bins at home, at school, at businesses, and also at the recycling plants. So we're getting better at sorting things correctly before they go to the recycling plant, and then sorting them better when they get to the recycling plant. So I'm trying to teach kids, okay, look, here's a big problem, but we already have technological solutions at work. It's not like it's a problem and we're hopeless. It's a problem that we have scientists working on, engineers are working on it. We have the technology, we have the ability to solve this. And when you grow up, they want you to come work with them. And so then there's an empowerment segment where we say, come up with your own idea. Let's use our imagination. Don't worry about what's possible. Just imagine something. A lot of times, I don't know if you're a Star Trek fan, but I am, right? So, and even if you're not, this will still make a lot of sense. People who grew up watching Star Trek saw things like the flip communicators and the warp drives, right? So kids who watched that as children and then grew up to be engineers, they designed the flip phone because of Star Trek. That was something that was just in their imagination, but it was not technologically possible in 1968 when the show came out. It was possible later in the 90s or the early 2000s when those kids grew up and watched it. We also saw them do warp drive. Now, going faster than the speed of light is just not physically possible. We know that. But how did they do it in Star Trek? Engineers have come up with all kinds of ways of determining how those ships moved faster than light without breaking the laws of physics. And then they said, what if they did it this way? What if we designed something that could do that? And they're actually working on warp drive technology because they grew up watching Star Trek. So what I'm saying is, let's give these kids, hey, here's what engineers are doing today. What would you do? Just make something up. It doesn't have to be something that we can do today, but you might grow up thinking about it for 20 years and design it as an engineer when you grow up. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to empower them with critical thinking skills, with forward thinking, with possible thinking, instead of impossible thinking. It's just not possible. We're all going to die. It's doom and gloom. We all hate each other. It's I'm tired of it, and I think most people are tired of it. And that's my way. So
I like your way.
thank you.
Igniting their imagination.
And igniting their, you know what? I'm going to write that down. Thank you. I'm igniting their imaginations.
It's a old thing. I read and heard it many times. It's not mine, but yes, this is what I could understand in my sense, that you are igniting their imagination. You see, 68 about flip phone, 69 man landed on the moon, and so many things get interconnected. Obviously, so many things you see on those things, on TV, and so many old movies, or series, and then you just think, how did they even imagine this?
Yes.
How did they even think of this at that point in time, and which later became reality? And that is
Yeah.
the great part. That is where you start saluting those people who had those imagination. And imagination is, that is why we watch those movies of some great directors who had that imagination. We are not, we pay for their imagination. And I guess that is what, and that's a wonderful thing. You talk about, optimism and empowerment. I want to understand how do you want to give that optimism and empowerment, and then we come to the career part.
Okay, so the how am I doing the optimism, or why I want to?
Why is understandable.
Why? Okay.
Obviously, okay. How?
Well,
How through
how? Right.
what?
Okay. So the how part is built into the program itself. It's not just documentaries of the problem. The thing that I really wanted to do was to instill upon them that yes, there's a problem. You know there's a problem. You already know these kids are not dumb. They're growing up in this world and they hear things, they learn things, they see things. So here's the problem. Let's just call it what it is. This is the problem and it is a problem. But that's not the end of the show. The show continues then with the solutions, and not just ideas for solutions, but actual green tech solutions that exist today. And here's a company that's made this thing, and here's scientists over here that are working on this project, and it could solve it tomorrow. And so I want them to know that while, yes, the problem exists, it's real, the solutions also exist. And I think that's, to me, where the optimism and empowerment come in, because in our world, the problems are much louder than the solutions. The problems make headlines. The solutions are on page 29B. You know what I mean? The problems are the TV shows and movies that we see, but the solutions, the real life solutions, are boring. They're boring document. Nobody cares. The solutions that we see in movies are superheroes or spaceships and things that don't exist. So kids can understand the problems in their real life, but they can't understand the solutions in their real life because they aren't shown any. They don't live any. They're not loud. They're not sexy. They're not exciting. The solutions are just like, oh, hey, we fixed that thing. I'm sure in India, you guys know about the ozone layer. And you may recall many years ago, the ozone layer has a giant hole in it, and we're all going to die from that. And you don't hear about that anymore. Do you know why? Because they figured out how to fix it, and they just fixed it, and then nobody cared about it. We don't hear about, oh my God, they fixed the ozone layer. Nobody says that. Oh, hey, that ozone thing, we fixed it. Yay. And they move on. That's it. The only thing we harp on is problems. Problems get clicks. Problems get money. Problems get people talking and worried and all this stuff. Solutions are just like, oh, well, we need another thing to talk about now. That's why. So that Planet Bonehead, how I'm doing it is I'm bringing them both. I talk about the problem, yes, absolutely, because the solution without a problem doesn't make sense. But it's really about the solution, and it's really about getting them involved in the solution. And it's not even just showing it to them and being like, here's a company that's doing it. Then the lesson plan is design your own. Go outside and do this thing, build your own prototype in class as an engineering project. All of that stuff, it's hands-on, it's critical thinking, it's interactive, it's working with your peers, it's having a class discussion. The teacher can do it however they want to do it, whatever works best for their individual class, but all the pieces are there. And it's just about getting the kids thinking and dreaming and imagining.
Absolutely. And talking of careers now, how they can prepare for tomorrow's career, and that too in green tech and STEAM fields, if I'm pronouncing that correct.
That's right, yeah. Some people call it STEM, some people call it STEAM. It stands for science, technology, engineering, art in STEAM, and mathematics.
Okay.
So that's
Addition is the A part, arts.
the A is art. So some people, it started as STEM, and then the A was added later. So some people say STEM, some people say STEAM. I like STEAM because the art is the imagination part for me. So in talking with green tech CEOs, in learning about all this stuff and understanding what these solutions are, I've learned some things about the careers that are waiting for these kids. We tend to think of these STEAM or STEM careers in terms of the science and the engineering parts. But the reality is that these engineering companies, these green tech companies, they need everybody. They need the musicians, they need the communicators, they need the artists, they need the lawyers, they need every skill. They're regular businesses and they require every skill. And that, so there are lots of kids who just don't like science class, and that's fine. But there's still lots for them to do. There are lots of kids who are artistic but don't like science and math. Well, those kids can come up with crazy ideas that the kids who are into science and math can figure out how to do in physical worlds. So that's what it is that they need business executives. They need everybody. It's an all hands on deck kind of thing. Because one of the biggest problems that these companies have is they've got the scientists, they've got the engineers, and there's lots of them. And they're very good at coming up with solutions. What they're not good at is telling everybody else about it. And one thing I've learned is that green tech is saving the world and nobody knows. Nobody knows about it. It's crazy to me that we have all the solutions to these problems and nobody knows about it because do you know who Thomas Edison is, right? So
I think so.
Thomas Edison, the inventor, he invented the light bulb and all that stuff.
Of course, the light bulb here.
And one of his peers was Nikola Tesla. Nikola
Right.
Tesla was a brilliant, brilliant inventor, a man years, decades ahead of his time, could run rings around Edison in terms of what he was inventing. The thing was that Nikola Tesla died penniless and is more or less forgotten by most people other than the ones who care about this stuff like me, whereas Edison is a household name. And the reason is not because Edison was smarter, not because he invented better things, but because Edison knew how to tell people about it. Edison was a great marketer. Edison could go out there and advertise his stuff. Tesla just tinkered in his labs and couldn't explain it to people. Nobody understood what he was doing except other very, very smart people who also didn't know how to explain it to people. And that's what the green tech community, that's the problem that they're having is they don't know how to explain it to investors. They don't know how to explain it to consumers. And they don't know how to explain it to kids to entice them to come into this field. So they're having a very difficult time getting the money they need to build the prototypes of the things that they're building. They're brilliant people, but their communication skills aren't on the same level as their engineering skills. So that's who they need. They need everybody. They need all children to learn about this stuff and get excited about the planet. Our planet is amazing. We live on an amazing planet that we should cherish, and kids get that. They understand that innately. We don't have to teach them to care about the planet. That's just common sense to them. It's us adults who forget the common sense, and we say, it's too expensive to clean it. Let's just make it disgusting and we'll all die. That's literally what we're doing because it's too expensive. Oh, well, you're right. Okay. And I'm going off on a tangent here, but that's the career part is that these green tech companies need everybody. So I'm trying to find ways to give teachers the resources to introduce all parts of these careers to kids so that they can dream about it. You ask a kid what they want to be when they grow up, they will only tell you something that they know about. They can't tell you that they want to be a green tech inventor if they don't even know that that's a thing. You know what I mean? So they need to know that these careers exist, that these fields exist. They need to have heroes in them. I want to be an astronaut because they saw Neil Armstrong, because they saw Sally Ride. You know what I mean? But they don't know any of the heroes in green tech. They don't know anybody. It's a faceless industry. Can you name anyone? You know what I mean? So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to create heroes. I'm trying to create dreams for them.
Absolutely, absolutely. You are creating a future of hope and imagination for everyone. But then, why have you named it Planet Bonehead?
Well, that's a two-part thing. So the character there are cartoon characters called the Boneheads, and the main character, he's the spy who's trying to save the world. His name is Bonehead. And the funny thing is that we came up with the character first before everything else. We just had this idea for a character named Bonehead, and then the whole thing grew into all this stuff, and we named it Planet Bonehead because it just seems like kind of a bonehead thing to do to let our planet just completely fall apart like this. It just seems kind of boneheaded to let this continue when it's so easy to fix. We've got the solutions in the palms of our hands. We just need the political will to do it. That's all it takes. And kids don't care about that. So, if I teach them about it, they'll grow up. This will just be common sense to them, you know? So that's where the name came from. But it was kind of a reversed engineered thing, and it stuck.
Very nice. I like it. In fact,
Thanks.
and this actually shows that that saving our planet is not a very you don't need to be extra smart or extra terrestrial sort of a intelligence that will come and save. Even normal intelligence, imagination, hope, and the right way to see things can lead us, into a better future. And I guess it is. You make it look like a future that anyone would walk into with hope, and uh, a lot of wish that okay, this is the future I'm walking it. The
Yeah.
present generation makes it sound like the world is ending only just tomorrow itself.
Right. And it doesn't have to. It's not, That you're absolutely right. I'm trying to paint a picture of a world that they're going to want to grow up in and live in. I like that.
Absolutely, absolutely, and so a lot of people who would want to know about this from you, want to know more about you. A lot of kids would want to connect with you and learn from you. What is the best way for them to do so?
The best way is at planetbonehead.com. That's the place. Um, so there's it's basically geared for schools and districts. Teachers are welcome to check it out as well individually if they would like to. It's not really for kids. I'm not marketing this or bringing this directly to children. So it's the children are the end users, sure, but through schools and classrooms and teachers. So that's that. And for anyone who wants to connect with me professionally, whether you're in a school district or even on some other level, LinkedIn is the perfect way to do that. Or connect with me through planetbonehead.com.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.